Uh-oh. Let me give you guys my screen back. Give me 1 second to pull the presentation back up. All right, here we go. All right, there we go. Happy Thursday, guys. We are ready to roll. We are just 2 minutes behind schedule, but we make it do what it do. Happy Thursday. Welcome to your huddle. For those who I have not had an opportunity to meet before, I mean, you're here, so you probably know who I am. My name is Raycole Jackson. I am the founder and the lead instructor for the Experts University. A little bit about myself professionally. I am originally from Florida, got my undergraduate degree from University of Florida, so go Gators, even though the football team is not doing the best right now. Attended Santa Clara University for law, came back to Miami and got my LLM in real property development from the University of Miami School of Law. And I am a proud licensed Florida sales professional. This, our huddles, Experts University as a whole, and these huddles every week are powered by our 3 main brands. The first one is Model Mortgage Experts. That is our mortgage brokerage brand. Say that fast, just twice. Where we get you clear to close. We're looking forward to partnering with more of you. We've had the great honor of conducting some homebuyer workshops with some of you. We're looking forward to getting more on the calendar, as well as I told you guys before to save the date for a date in February. I believe our date was February 18th, where we are going to give you guys an opportunity to collaboratively all together conduct a home buyer workshop. I hear all the time from agents, I want to do a home buyer workshop, a home investor workshop. It doesn't have to be a first-time home buyer, just a home buyer's workshop. I want to do that, but I just don't know how. I really don't have the time. And so that's going to be your answer. February 18th, I want you to save the date, because you'll have an opportunity. We're going to do a collaborative home buyer workshop. We're going to provide you with the marketing materials, all the collateral. You'll only need to bring your people on. We'll go through a home buyer's workshop, best practices of a home buyer's workshop, and then your invitees will be pointed back to you to take the next step in their home buyer journey. Does that make sense? So mark your calendars. We're looking forward to that. We're trying to remove every barrier, guys. Even with the interest rates where they are, we're still closing. People are still purchasing. And so we want to allow you guys to, again, continue to be productive in your businesses. So mark your calendars for that, right? All right, guys, be sure to mute yourself.
What was the date again, please recall?
February 18th.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to add it to my calendar.
No problem. Thanks for asking. And you'll see it. We'll send out an email and post it in the group. Ayana, please make a note that we post the graphic in the group, in the Facebook group for everyone for the home buyers workshop. We're also powered by Title Experts, our title insurance and settlement services firm. Why am I tongue-tied today? If you have not had an opportunity to work with Title Experts before, we welcome you to that opportunity. Some of the features and benefits of working with Title Experts include the fact that we are an attorney-managed firm. We provide a dedicated closing team, dedicated transaction coordinator, and regular status updates are available. If you have not had an opportunity to work with us before, we send new contracts to contracts@titleexperts.com. You can send general questions to closings@titleexperts.com. And of course, you can always reach us at our vanity number, 866-5-EXPERTS, okay? So to today's topic, And I want to let you guys know, give you a heads up. We won't be on here long because a lot of this is going to be homework. It is going to be homework for you. Last year, we had a conversation on this topic. Every year, we talk about this at least twice because I know that this is something that is not taken advantage of, and it's very important for realtors. Guys, you are business owners, right? Remember, I always tell you, you are now the CEO of your very own real estate company. Guys, whether you are profitable, meaning whether you're closing deals right now or not, you are operating an entity. Do you guys get the Inman headlines where they say, oh, Zillow had a net loss of $2 million last month? They're still in business though, right? So even if you're funding your business and have not yet closed transactions, you are still a business entity. I want you guys to ensure that you incorporate and then begin tracking all of your business related expenses for the purposes of tax preparation, right? So today we're going to talk about some tax preparation essentials. First of all, our objective with tax planning is two things. One, I want you all to be sure to capture all of your business expense deductions. That is one of the main benefits of being a business owner. Outside of setting your own schedule, you get to as an employee, all of the things that will be expenses into your, what do you call it, post-tax income. You get to deduct those expenses before you pay taxes. And guys, every day you are spending money related to your business. Even if you're a full-time employee, guys, your cell phone, your gas, clothing that you're using specifically for your business cards, your realtor fees with your brokerages and with the different boards. When you sign up for different organizations and memberships, that's a tax write-off, right? So with today's conversation, I want you to start looking more at your business expenses. When you go out to lunch with one of your colleagues, right? That's a business expense. When you grab a cup of coffee with the client, that's a business expense. When you run to FedEx to mail something, or you run to Office Depot to print, that's a business expense that you need to ensure that you're tracking as a deduction for your tax planning purposes. Lastly, with ensuring that you track your business expenses, you should avoid unnecessary tax obligations, right? So you are potentially, let's say, for example, you are a dual career agent, meaning you work a full-time or part-time job and you also operate your real estate business. You can potentially be incurring taxes on items that you should not incur taxes on because you have these business expenses that should have offset your tax liabilities, right? So unnecessary tax obligations. As a business owner, you know you have to pay taxes. All those commission checks that you get, you have to pay taxes on that. So you want to offset the amount of taxes that you're paying by tax planning, right? Now, one of the first steps in the tax planning process, you guys know, if you've been with me for just 12 months or even 6 or 9 months, you need to set up your business entity. You need to set up your business entity. If you have not set up your business entity already, today, that is your homework. And again, if you guys are saying anything in the chat, I can't see it. You're going to come off mute. I'm working on one screen. So if you have any questions, just feel free to come off chat. Come off mute. No one is blocked in our huddles from coming off mute if you need to ask a question. So when I discussed setting up a business entity with you guys before, I tell you generally there's two main reasons to set up your business entity. One is for legal protection, right? In the event, God forbid, there is an accident or incident or dispute related to the services that you offer in your real estate business as a realtor, you want to ensure that, and God forbid you're found, there's a judgment against you, you're found liable for whatever the legal issue is. You want to be sure that the extent of your exposure is what is contained and produced in that real estate company. Does that make sense? You don't want a plaintiff to be able to access your personal bank accounts, your personal investment properties, those sorts of things. If you create a legal entity and there's a legal dispute, a legal issue, the extent of any plaintiffs or any judgment holders recovery is going to be what that business entity has, right? So Sally Sue is a realtor. Sally Sue creates her Sally Sue PA entity. Sally Sue is negligent in her representation of a seller. She just totally was negligent, or let's say a buyer, totally negligent in assisting the buyer with making sure that they're not found in default. Let's use a basic example. Court finds that the Sally Sue was negligent. Well, if Sally Sue has a business entity set up, if the plaintiff gets a judgment for $100,000, well, the plaintiff buyer is limited to if there's $100,000 in Sally Sue PA in Sally Sue's bank account, assets, etc. If Sally Sue has no PA and Sally Sue is a top producing realtor and Sally Sue's personal bank account has $100,000 in it, that plaintiff buyer is going to be able to access that $100,000. Okay. Daniel says, so the fact that I have a license with the state does not mean I have an entity. Correct. Very good job, Daniel. Thank you for that question. You guys clear on that? So just because you're licensed does not mean you have an entity. You just have a license to provide a service. What we're talking about today is creating that business entity that provides the service, that you provide that service under. Okay. So the second, you would create a PA, you can create an LLC. You're going to do a PA, and I do see some agents most agents do PA, which is professional association. And some do create LLCs, but most do PAs. Okay. The next reason for setting up the business entity. No, very good question. Very good question. The next reason for setting up the entity is financial planning. Again, as we talked about, to make sure that you get all the concessions that you're due as a business owner operating a business. The tax code has very many tax breaks for business owners. You guys are operating a business. I want you to be able to take advantage of that. Back during COVID, for example, if you guys had an entity that was set up, you were able to apply for, what was it, PPP and all those other tax savings. Even now, when you talk about tax credit, you are eligible for those. Capri says, so if I have an office set up to get mail instead of using my home address, is that good? I hope this is not confusing. No, so I completely understand. Yes, you would want, now you have two options. One, you can have the mail continue to go to your home, even though you have a business entity set up, but for maybe confidentiality purposes, you have it go to a mailing address. So for example, many of you know that we operate a co-working space that has executive addresses, right? And so you have an address, a business address here at our co-working space where your mail would come there. Your mail can continue to come to your home address for that business entity. I hope that answered your question. If not, feel free to let me know in the chat, Caprice, or come off mute.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
Afternoon.
Afternoon.
Okay, yes. So I was asking a question. So because I have an LLC, but I think I have the LLC wrong because I have it as Caprice Brown LLC, but I have it as my address. But I think I need to change it from my home address and put it as an office space.
You don't have to. You don't have to. You
Okay.
don't have to. You do not have to. You do not.
That was my question.
Again, you can have the mailing address be anywhere.
Okay. So should I also have like a phone number, like an 800 number?
You don't have to have an 800 number, but you can. It's funny you asked that because I was going to mention that when I talked about the fact that we have a vanity number. You guys can set up a business number. As a matter of fact, I do think it makes sense. You can always set up a separate business number and even still have those calls forwarded to your cell phone. So if you're concerned about carrying two phones or having to manage two different lines, you can always forward those numbers to your cell phone. Or if you use a service such as like Dialpad or Ring Central or Go, there's so many different we call soft phones or voice over IP phones, where the phone service will be an app on your phone. And when the call comes through, it'll ring on the app. I think it's a great idea to always have a business
Okay.
number, because I feel like you're starting with the end in mind, right? So that you eventually hire an assistant, your assistant can answer that phone line.
Okay, thank
But
you.
again, it's also based, no, these are very good questions. It's also based on cost, right? So it's not super expensive. You can get a Ring Central line for, I think, like $35 a month. It's not super expensive, but you may say like, I don't really think I need that just yet. But you could, let's say, for example, you always give out your business number because you have your office hours set and you don't want people to be able to call your cell phone at 7 o'clock at night, right? These are the
Right.
different reasons why you would consider having a business number. So that's a very good question, Caprice. Thank you for that question.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. Next, I am going to, oh, look at Daniel. Daniel just has all the questions. Okay, so Daniel's question is, and I think that slide is in here, but I'm going to go ahead and answer it now since it's here. So Daniel's question is, quick question, can I benefit from these tax savings even though I did not create an LLC last year? Or can I start this year if I create an LLC this year? You need to create it. It needs to be created for you to, generally it needs to be, I'm going to say this, generally it needs to be created for you to take advantage of the tax savings. Caveat, your CPA tax preparer could potentially say that the expenses that you incurred last year were anticipation. You can pretty much, we're anticipation of creating this business that you have this year. And so there's a way for you to essentially credit yourself, right? Secondly, you can deduct from your personal expenses, on your personal taxes, quote unquote business expenses. The issue is it becomes very gray. It becomes very gray, right? Does that make sense? So it's best for you to have that entity set up so it is very clear that these are business expenses, because I always deduct the cost from this business account. All right. That's another point that comes up with Daniel's question. You guys should have a tax preparer that you work with each year. What was it? TurboTax. I don't really suggest TurboTax. You're a business owner now, and the cost of tax preparation services are a write-off, right? You want a good tax preparer that can coach you on the different tax advantages that you have. All right, so make that note. So really quickly, let's go through how we set up business entities here in Florida. The entity is created on SunBiz, right? And you don't have to try and write all this down. We have a handout that we prepared when we went over this before a few months ago. The team is going to make sure that it's in the documents portal in the Facebook group. And if for whatever reason you're not able to locate it, we can also shoot out an email. So just listen today. You don't have to feverishly take notes. Again, we have the handout, which also has a link to a recording where we go through this in even further detail. Okay. So mostly said I'm writing. No, we have a link, guys. Remember, we also have the YouTube page that has inventory or catalog of prior recordings. So yes, I want you to just listen. Don't try and take all these notes. So the entity is created on SunBiz. The website will be on the flyer. It can be a PA, LLC, or PLLC. If you are a sales associate, it must be in your name. If you're a sales associate or a broker associate, it must be in your name. So like Caprice said, Caprice Brown LLC, Caprice Brown PA, Caprice Brown PLLC. You cannot use a vanity name if you're not a broker operating as a brokerage. Does that make sense? So if you do not have your own brokerage set up, you cannot use a vanity name. You must use your personal name, your licensed name. It is that, and it's even your licensed name, right? So if Caprice has her license under Caprice Brown, it has to be Caprice Brown PA. Let's say Caprice usually goes by the name of K Brown, K-A-Y. You can't create K-A-Y Brown PA. You can create it, but the next step, as you'll see, will be to submit information to the department, to the realtor board, to have your license changed to the PA, right? And they're not going to change it to K Brown when your license is in Caprice Brown, okay? So this is an example of what the SunBiz page looks like. Again, this is on that handout, so you do not have to feverishly take notes. It also includes the website. Once you create these, I want to take a step back because I got this question from one of your colleagues last week. In creating the form, and again, this is in the video, you generally are the registered agent. Someone else can be the registered agent, but generally you are the registered agent. What is the registered agent? Who is the registered agent? What is the registered agent for? The registered agent is for the purpose of receipt of service of process. Can the entity name be changed once I get my broker's license? Yes. Very good question, Daniel. Daniel has all the questions. Daniel's asking the question. You guys need to cash out Daniel because he's asking all the questions. Yes, the entity name can be changed once you get your broker's license. And then that even goes into business planning, right? So if you already have an entity set up, let's say again, say Daniel Gutierrez, PA, he has that entity set up with the EIN. He has a long history. He's even gotten credit cards with that EIN. He has a bank accounts. And then he goes and creates his brokerage. Let's say it's Gutierrez and Associates. He can do a name change. You see it there, manage or change existing business. You can do a name change on that business and name it Gutierrez and Associates, but keep the EIN and everything else stays the same. So now he keeps the longevity and the history of that entity and changes the name. So that's a very good question, Daniel. As I was saying about the registered agent, you do need to fill that information in. Again, it can be you, unless you have someone else like an attorney that has agreed to be a registered agent. It can be you, and that's fine. You don't intend to get have any lawsuits, right? Once that entity is approved, watch your emails. Watch your emails. You're going to get an email confirming whether or not the entity has been approved and created. If any information is missing, they'll let you know that as well, and you'll go back in and change that. But once it is approved, you're going to go on the IRS website and create an employer identification number, or what's called an EIN number, right? That's essentially the social security number for an entity. Michelle's question is, will we have to do anything like single member or anything along those lines? It's going to ask you that information when you do your application for EIN number. It's going to say, is it a single member entity? And you just say yes or no. That's all you have to do. Good question. The next step is to file the license update form RE16 with DBPR, Department of Professional Regulations, I believe that stands for, DBPR, right? You're going to file form RE16. That is the license update form. The last time I checked, it is form RE16, right? Once the department confirms that your license has been updated, you're going to update your broker with the new entity. So now when you receive your commission checks from your broker, it's going to be in the name of Caprice Brown LLC, Caprice Brown PA, or whatever entity name you set up, right? Because again, it is your business that sold that home. So Caprice said to repeat the part about notifying the board. So you should update your license with I'm looking at Marissa's question already. It's how you get distracted. You need to update your license with the board, right? So form RE16, you're going to update your license with the board so that your license will now say Caprice Brown LLC. Go ahead. I see you came off mute. What's your question?
Okay. Oh,
Hello, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. When I walked out the office, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Okay. What? That's what I came on here to confirm. Okay, so I did my LLC. I want to say I think last year.
Uh-huh.
So just to make sure, so I should be calling the board like today and update the RE16. Is there a form that I fill out, or do I
Yes.
call the board and tell them I need to
That
do
form
Caprice?
called Form RE16.
Okay, so when I go on the Miami Association
The DBPR,
website,
the DBPR website, Department of
okay,
Professional Regulations. Yep, that is Form RE16. Unless they
okay, and
changed
let
it
them know I have
just
LLC.
recently, but it's going to be the license update form.
Okay, so tell them I have Caprice Yvette Brown LLC, and then I also need to update it with my broker also.
Yep, once your license is updated with the board, you need to update it with your broker because those payments will be dispersed to your entity.
Oh, okay, and I can keep it under my name. I don't have to change it from my name. Okay, thank you.
Well, whatever the entity name is you set up, you said you have Caprice Brown LLC. That's who carries the license. So you've updated it with DBPR because that's now the licensee, Caprice Brown LLC. And so that's obviously also the entity that's going to be paid. So that's why you update your broker.
Okay, because I thought I had to change it. I thought I couldn't have the real estate business under my name because since I'm a realtor and I just thought I couldn't have it under my name, that I had to change it to something different. But when I get paid, I needed to come to me, so it's best to keep it under my name.
So I think I'm going to answer your question with the next few slides. Remember, so what you're going to do is you're going to set up the PA, the entity in your personal name. So however your license, if you have Caprice, what'd you say? Don't say your middle name. If your license now is in Caprice Brown, again, you're just going to add PA, LLC, PLLC to the end of your name. And that creates the entity. Then you're going to say, hey,
Okay.
DBPR, I need my license to be in the name of my entity. I am now doing business under my entity, right? And then once that's approved with DBPR, then you update your broker and say, hey, brokerage, I am now doing business under my entity, even though it's very close to your name, but it's an entity. I mean, even though it's, your same name, PA, I'm now doing business under my entity. My entity is licensed. I'm doing business under my entity. My commission checks need to be dispersed to my entity.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
No, very good question. So Marissa says, my commissions were paid to me. Can I still file them under the entity? There are ways to do that. But again, now that 1099 is coming to you personally, you have to deal with it on your personal taxes versus it coming to your business. That's the reason why we're saying set this up. So you're not having to backtrack. Even Daniel's question, remember we said we wanted to be clean. Daniel said, well, I've been doing business. I did business all last year without my entity. Clearly I have business expenses. Can I now go backtrack, set this entity up, backtrack and allocate all my expenses to my business? There are potentially ways to do that. Again, you need to meet with your tax preparer on that to get specific to get specific instructions. Because again, guys, I'm not a tax attorney. I don't want to be a tax attorney, but this is a framework. And even I have a CPA that I meet with every month. Begrudgingly, I'm just kidding. But this is a framework for you to understand how you need to set up your entity. And then as it relates to, again, for those who do not have this in place already, meet with your tax preparer on how to basically clean up the backlog. That's why we're having this conversation at the beginning of the year, guys, so that you don't get to the end of the year and like, oops, you know, I've made all this money. Hey, Latavian, good to see you on here. I don't want to miss your question. Katrina said, do I have to include my middle initial name for my PA? You do not have to include it, but I would say however you have your license currently with the board is how I would create it. And just put your PA or your LLC or your PLLC on the end. After you've created your entity, you have your EIN, you have your license with updated with DBPR, you have your license updated with your broker. Make sure that you open your bank account. You're welcome, Katrina. Open your bank account for the business, right? Open your bank account for the business. Caprice Brown, PA needs a bank account. You also need a debit card, right? If I could simplify this for you guys, treat that business as its own, as an individual, because that's what it is. It's an entity. It's its own thing. So what do you have personally? You have bank accounts, you have debit cards, you have credit cards, you need all those things, different things. And so your entity needs all those separate things as well. I'm going to go a little inch deeper and give you guys even more clarity why this is necessary. We have a concept called piercing the corporate veil. Piercing the corporate veil. And you guys are not going to get in trouble, right? You guys are not going to have any legal issues. But the concept of piercing the corporate veil means you say, oh, remember, let's go back to our first hypothetical. We said Sally Sue had a legal issue. She was found at fault. There was $100,000 judgment against her. And Sally Sue says, well, I have an entity. I'm sorry. You know, when they go to, when the buyer plaintiff goes to try to collect on their judgment, Sally Sue says, well, my business only has $10,000 in the checking account, so that's all I have. But they subpoena her commission roll, or account or record of transactions from a brokerage, and they say, okay, well, we see about 10 checks that were made out to your PA, but you deposited them in your personal account. So although you may only have $10,000 there's all this money in your personal account. And the buyer's attorney is going to say, you pierced the corporate veil. Remember what we talked about? We talked about protection. You no longer have that protection because you're playing on both sides. We're piercing the corporate veil and we're accessing your personal accounts. Miss Top Producing Realtor. You guys didn't come here for that story today, right? We're excited, we're happy, we're talking about how to save money. But I'm just so you know, this is again why we separate our business from our personal. Capri said, wait, I'm lost. Can you repeat? So we're talking about making sure that you separate your business from your personal, so that if there are any issues, any judgments, disputes, etc., against the business, it stays limited to the business assets, the business bank account. But if you're taking your commission checks that are made out to Caprice Brown, PA, depositing them into your personal account, they see about 5 or 6 of those, they're saying, you're not really separate. We need to be able to access both accounts. Does that make sense? So we're talking about just the legal protection part of why you need to set up an entity. right? We went a little bit deep, come up out of that, but that's what that's for. The next step again, remember, is to exactly leave no doors open, keep business in business, personal funds, exactly. You want to open that bank account. And then you want to, and I saw your question, Latavian, right now off the top of my head, I do have a contact that we worked with before a while back. I'm going to get her on a huddle for us. And of course it needs to be soon because it's tax season. So that you guys, or I'll get her information so you guys can schedule a consult. I can tell you right now, my CPA is not, he's way beyond, he's a little bit more involved. It's just more than what you would need for just your real estate business. So I do have one person in mind. I'll reach out to her and get that information back to you guys, and also find out how you can do a consult with her, because she really specifically works with realtors. So that's a very good question, Latavian, and I will not forget that. Don't let me forget that, Ayana. Next step, you want to consult with your CPA regarding additional form filings such as Form 2553, your S Corp election. Okay, for sure, right? You want to file for S Corp status, and that's for tax planning as well. That gets into pass-through of taxes, right? All right, we're coming around the corner. You want to set up an accounting system? You've ever heard of RealtyZam? That's one. They have QuickBooks for realtors, QuickBooks Online. You can do a very basic. The point is, you need a bookkeeping system. You need a bookkeeping system. I think Mint, I know Mint has a personal kind of like bookkeeping system. I think they have one for business, which is just, you might not have, you're likely not to have, as involved as myself, for example, where you have a bunch of, we call it chart of accounts, right? You don't have a bunch of different expense type every month. You have the same 10 or so expenses, but you need to organize it, because that's what your CPA is going to do at the end of the year. They're going to say, because there's different allocations, tax write-off allocations, percentages based on the expense type. So you get a certain percentage for just meals, you get a certain percentage for education and training, you get a certain percentage for clothes, right? You get a certain percentage for interest payment, for loan and interest payments. And so when you use that, the accounting system, it allows that information to be already organized as you go through the year, so that tax season, everything is already there. All right. Number 7, like was just said, you want to use the business account for all business expenses. All business expenses. So even if you say, Ray Cole, I am new, I do not have any money in my business bank account yet because I haven't done any deals, you can give your business a loan, and that's the best thing for you to do. Even if you have to loan your business, let's say $300 per month to cover your operating costs while you start working, do that. Instead of paying your brokerage fees out of your personal account, or your marketing fees out of your personal account, give a loan to your business, and then the business will pay you back. You see how you keep your books clean, right? Eventually you'll be able to apply for business credit, which is important. Essentially every business has a line of credit, right? You should have an availability for cash. Anything can happen. So look at, and this is established when you have banking history, right? So open that business bank account, get banking history, and then eventually you want to apply for business credit, a business credit card and line of credit. And then lastly, place yourself on payroll. So let's go back to our example. We talked about the brokerage is going to disperse the commission check to Caprice Brown PA. Caprice Brown PA, the business, is going to pay Caprice Brown, the person, via a payroll check. Does that make sense? Drop a thumbs up in the chat if that makes sense to you. How we're now making ourselves W-2 employees. Because now we need to buy homes, right? You don't want to go you're creating a paper trail, a financial trail, so that you can go and do business, right? This is how you're going to need to apply for loans, investments, purchase homes, and they're going to want to see your business books. They're going to want to see a W-2. And if you're established well enough, they won't even start digging into your business accounts. They see that you have W-2s consistently for $10,000 or $8,000 per month. Okay, you're good. You're approved, right? If you're still an employee for someone, that's all they did. They created a business and then they pay you payroll. Now, someone's saying, I don't have enough to pay myself. Start where you are. If you need to pay yourself $300 a month, $500 a month, get in the habit. Eventually you will pay yourself more, but set it up from now that you pay yourself on payroll. You also have the ability to do draws. Now that's something that you're going to discuss with the tax preparer. As the owner of a business, you can do a draw and not take payroll checks. You want to do both. Payroll checks are needed when you're taking out loans. They want to see W-2. But to avoid the taxes that are assessed as an employee, you can do a draw. But again, you want to discuss that with your tax professional. All right. All right. So last thing, she says, so no Zelle transfers. Daniel said, does it matter if the payments are made on a debit account or a credit account? Explain that to me, Daniel. If you want to come off mute or drop it in the chat. I need clarity on that. Latavian, you can do a Zelle transfer. You can do a Zelle transfer, but again, let's say, for example, you use, so for example, we use Gusto for our payroll. And for whatever reason, maybe you printed a check and you weren't able to deposit the check itself. You can just do a Zelle for the amount of the check. It's best for you to just deposit the check, but you could do a Zelle for the amount of the check. You can do a Zelle for the owner's draw. So yes, you can do Zelle, but the point is that Zelle transfer should be cataloged in your accounting system somehow. What was the purpose of the transfer? You mentioned how broker, does it matter what type of account they charge? No, good question, Daniel. No. Very good question. Very good question. So the other thing, that's a very good question. The entity can obviously have a credit card, and the entity credit card, if they're charging, if any expenses that are paid on your credit card, which I suggest you do that, especially a card that has rewards, if it has miles, if it has points, if it has cash back, any card that has rewards, I do suggest you do that. I suggest you get a credit card. Now, don't get it because you don't have the cash and then you can't pay it down, but get a business credit card, pay your business expenses on that card, and then pay down the card every month. Because now you're doing a couple of things. One, you're building up the business's credit, and two, you're likely getting some type of reward back. So I hope that answers your question, Daniel. It can be the entity's bank account, debit card, credit card, any account that's tied to the entity. Now, the second point I want to make, if you do have a business credit card, you want that credit card should also, the expenses that are paid on that credit card should be in your QuickBooks or your Mint or RealtyZam or whatever accounting software you use. The credit card should be on there because you're doing the same thing. You're tracking the expenses that were paid on behalf of the business during the year. You're tracking the fact that you paid for a meal using that credit card. You're tracking the fact that you paid for lunch or gas or brokerage fees using that credit card, right? Tier credit card upline, I'm not sure what that is, Caprice. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that is. I've never heard of it. Oh, so the handout. This is a reminder. This is a screenshot of what at least the top portion of the handout looks like. Go back into the community, and it should be there. If not, we need to make sure to get it there for you. Leslie Ann says, can I just pay myself only when I get paid per closing? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a very good question. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You do not have to have yourself, and I see you already have a PA. Congratulations. You do not have to put yourself on a regular payroll schedule if you know you don't have the income for that. But you can, however, consider decreasing the payroll amount to coincide with the funds that are in the account, if that makes sense, right? So yes, maybe you had to go to pay yourself $6,000 per month, but as of right now, the reserves only allow for you to pay yourself $3,000 a month or $2,000 a month. Well, see, again, payroll, what I mean by payroll does not have to be on a regular schedule. Payroll is the process of making sure that you're paying taxes. All right. So your payroll can be once a month, it could be once a year, it could be when you close, right? So payroll doesn't mean that it has to be on a particular schedule. It just means that you're set up to pay yourself a documented payment to yourself through your business is the point of payroll, if that makes sense. Ms. Don Joy said, can I put a real estate business under my existing LLC? Again, that LLC, number one, I do not suggest that you mix businesses, number one. Number two, and more importantly, your business license will need to be your personal name unless you are a broker. You can't use a vanity name. So that oftentimes is a prohibits you from putting your license under an existing entity anyway. But again, I do not even suggest that you mix entities. I don't. If you're doing, investment sales, or if you're doing investments with a particular entity, I do not suggest that you do that under your real estate license entity. Separate those businesses for the same reason I mentioned earlier. You may not have been on at that time. You want businesses separated for liability purposes, tax planning purposes. Gotcha, Dr. All right, so here just a quick screenshot of some sample business expenses. Health insurance. If anybody's paying health insurance through, say, for example, the marketplace, that needs to be a write-off, right? Coaching needs to be a write-off. Books that you're buying for your business. Vehicle insurance, a portion of that needs to be a write-off. Vehicle maintenance, a portion of that needs to be a write-off. Gas and electric charging, if you're part of the Tesla family or any of the electric families, that needs to be a write-off. Website fees. If you think of all of the paper and a planner, if you buy a planner for green screen, if you buy a planner for work, you need to write that off. And again, keeping all those things separate, you won't even have to remember like, oh, I did just drop by and get a planner at that time. So, all right. All right, guys, remember, we went a little quick, but we have the handout that has a link to a more detailed discussion on how to set up that entity with Sunbiz. If for some reason you're still unclear on how to do that and we need to do it again live, just let us know. Shoot Ayana an email at community@gotoexperts.com and we will coordinate that. But in closing, we're now in week what? Week 3 of our 2023 business year. And so I want you guys we have business plans, and we're now talking about activating and executing those business plans. I want you to make sure to go back to your friends and family. Let your friends and family officially know about your business. So often we miss this step. You may think they all know, but most likely they do not. Starting next week, guys, I want us to do a campaign, a Happy New Year campaign. You're going to reach out to all your past clients. You're going to reach out to your friends and family. Happy New Year. Here's my goal for the year. I have a goal to sell 30 homes this year. Here's my contact information. I want you guys to make it easy for friends and family to refer you. You're going to create a graphic, right? Virtual business cards. Next week, I want us to really have a launch plan for 2023 put in place for our business. I want you guys to be just as excited about your business so that others can be excited. Trust me, oftentimes you don't promote your business, you don't do well in your business because you're not excited about your business. And you're not excited about your business because you're not doing anything new in your business. So if you each quarter, you do a new campaign, new year, new home, new year, new home, new year, new home. Yeah, stay with that, I guess. I just thought of that. And you're excited about it. And that's the message that you want to ring to your circle for the next 90 days. And you put your graphics together. Now you're excited about it. And guys, you have to be more excited about your business so that others can be excited. Energy is transferable. If you're like, hey, yeah, so I'm doing real estate now. Yeah, the market is hard, but no, hey, new year, new home. Are you guys ready to move? Do you know anyone that's ready to move? I am excited. This quarter, I am launching my new year, new home campaign. Over the course of 2023, I am looking to help 30 homeowners either purchase or sell or invest in this market. Can you help me? Can you commit to 10 referrals this year? 10 referrals this month. Matter of fact, let's truncate that. Can you help me and commit to 10 referrals this month? Or let's shoot for the stars. Can you commit to 30 referrals this month? I know that everybody won't be ready, but listen, I appreciate just the referral. And if you can, when you do refer them, let me know that you referred them. Does that make sense? Let's get back to our friends and family. Obviously, I hope they know, like, and trust you. I hope they know, like, and trust you enough to share your new home, new year, new home campaign, or whatever campaign you think of for this year. That's part of marketing, guys. Campaigns are part of marketing. So I want you guys to think about that before you're not going to close out. If you're serious about your business, you're not going to let January close out without a campaign for this first quarter to get yourself, to fuel yourself, and to prepare you into an effective and a full of sales 2023. All right, guys. That is our huddle for the day. So good to see everyone. Wonderful, wonderful questions. Thank you for your questions. I think, Daniel, we're going to actually go back and I'm going to put some of those questions. I'm going to put your questions in the community for those who did not have an opportunity to join us, as well as all the other questions. Those are very good questions. Okay. All right, guys. I'll see you guys. For those of you who join us on Tuesdays for our substantive training classes, see you on Tuesdays. For those of you, you should be there. There's no reason for you not to be there on Tuesday. But the rest of you, I will see you on Thursday, and I will also see you in the community. Have a great day. Bye. You too. Good to see you, Angie. Oh, Gail, I saw your message. How do you do a virtual business card? We'll go over that, Caprice. That will be one of our huddle topics. Wonderful, Gail. We got your message. We'll give you a call back. You're welcome, Sita. Caprice, you're welcome. Miss Don Joy, I need to go find her name. It's actually in my phone. Let me see. CPA. Her name is Elizabeth Genori, but let me contact her first and tee her up to expect to receive. Good to see you again, Courtney. Let me tee her up to expect to receive a call from you guys. And if I could possibly get her on in February, since we already have our lineup for January. All right, guys, go get some business. The recordings, are on the YouTube page, also in the community, and on the handout, it should link to the recording specifically about the preparation of your business entity. Okay. All right. All right, guys. See you later.